Cinema is constantly evolving. What began with silent black and white images became talking technicolor splendor to devour and relish. The arrival of television prophesied the end of cinema, but it kept on going strong. Today we experience 3D cinema, 4D even, with technology continuing to evolve and push the boundaries of the movie world. One of the latest innovators is that of the streaming platforms such as Netflix and Amazon, who are able to produce their own movies and release them exclusively on their own streaming services, completely bypassing the theatrical release. With many filmgoers these days building home cinema systems in order to mimic or even surpass the theatre experience, and being turned off by the noise, disruption and the inconvenience of going to the cinema, the streaming platforms have become giants, threatening to shake up the status quo. Many cinema purists, including much of the Hollywood elite and even those such as Martin Scorsese, who has made a movie with Netflix for lack of a better alternative, are adamant that movies, at least upon release, must be viewed in cinemas. That is the optimum experience. Others argue that the etiquette of the theatre that once might have existed is all but extinct in the current age of flashing cell phones and short attention spans. And with the technology available to the masses today, an even better movie watching experience can be derived from sitting at home and watching films. It's not just a debate that is discussed among film fans, but filmmakers themselves, with numerous directors distancing themselves from the likes of Netflix, being of the opinion that cinema is the home of movies. However, with Hollywood currently reluctant to fund anything without a spandex-wearing superhero on the front cover, frustrated filmmakers started to turn to television to release their creative juices. And in recent years, the likes of Netflix have seized this opportunity by shepherding these lost creative individuals to their gates, and in doing so, increasing their own pedigree. There doesn't seem to be too much issue with Amazon, who have in the past released films in cinemas and followed up or otherwise released movies simultaneously on their streaming service. Netflix, in the eyes of many however, have declared war on cinema. With a ridiculously large subscriber base, Netflix are able to commission any movie they want without fearing for losses over gross profits, at least at the moment. They have always remained staunch in their dogma that their original movies will be streamed on their platform only. However, this approach has several limitations, the main one being that high-profile directors are unwilling, where possible, to work with a company who will not release movies in the format that they see as essential, and whose movies are also ineligible for Academy Awards, seeing as though a minimum 2-week cinema run is required. To combat this, and to be in contention to win the Best Picture award, which would be the crowning jewel in their legitimization in the movie world, Netflix have quite simply loopholed their way into the Oscars by showing their pictures in select theatres in the minimum amount of time required to qualify for Academy Award nominations. And with their policy of throwing money at directors, or at least high-profile ones, and leaving them alone to make their movies, it's no wonder filmmakers are turning to the streaming giants. The company may have a solid foothold with home cinema, but slowly and surely they are knocking on the doors of Hollywood. They have attracted names like the Coen brothers, Alfonso Cuarón and Martin Scorsese, showing that they have long since become a serious name in the business. One of the princes of Hollywood, the household name Steven Spielberg, attracted widespread criticism of being out of touch with the modern world when he publicly condemned Netflix, saying that their movie should not be allowed to compete at the Oscars. It could be argued that it is the fault of Hollywood studios that movie makers have headed towards Netflix in the first place, due to being unable to make the films they want to make. But nevertheless, Spielberg expressed his views that Netflix movies should qualify for Emmys and not enter the Oscar fray. Netflix responded to his fears that they would destabilize the cinematic experience by saying that they love cinema, but also love access for people who can't always afford or live in towns without theatres, letting everyone enjoy releases at the same time. They must have won a few PR points with that one. Netflix have also butted heads with the Cannes Film Festival. French law dictates that movies cannot be available on home platforms for 36 months after being shown in cinemas, conflicting with Netflix's day-on-date release policy. And in 2018, Cannes made a rule change in which they stated that a movie would be banned from competing for the main prizes if it didn't have a theatrical release, backing Netflix into a corner. And in response, Netflix opted to pull out of Cannes altogether, and where once upon a time Cannes might say, "Good riddance, peasant scum," Netflix are far too high profile to ignore now, and it means Cannes fading away with the times by missing out on the likes of The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and The Irishman. As a result, communications and conversations have recently been re-engaged, with both sides wanting to come to a compromise. Essentially, at the heart of the issue is a battle of culture and what we perceive to be cinema. The lines between what is a movie and what is TV is blurring, and even what is a game. Entertainment is going through evolutionary changes, and Netflix is a big factor in that. They themselves want to be taken seriously as a film studio, with the Oscar for Best Picture being the centerpiece to their vision. An attempt was made with Roma, a movie in which Netflix decided to compromise their way of doing things by giving an exclusive theatre release for the film for 3 weeks before it hit Netflix's streaming platform, showcasing to filmmakers that the company isn't against cinema releases. Roma was a massive success for Netflix. It didn't win the Oscar but was nominated for Best Picture, successfully showing that Netflix is now part of the Oscar game. They are set to double down at the next Oscars, with similar if not longer cinema runs planned for the high-profile projects of this year. The ace in Netflix's deck has been one in the making for years, a movie symbolic of the changing of times at Hollywood, a movie that was essentially the beginning of heads being turned towards Netflix. Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. If a foreign language film got Netflix's name thrown around as much as it did, think about what a project from Martin Scorsese could do for the company. The veteran filmmaker's project concerns a hitman's real-life confession to the murder of Teamsters leader Jimmy Hoffa, ending a 40-year mystery and having Scorsese return to the mafia movie world he himself helped shape. In addition, the movie boasts the talents of his former muses Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel, with Joe Pesci coming out of retirement for the film. The icing on the cake is Al Pacino working with Scorsese for the first time, and the background staff includes an Oscar-winning trio of screenwriter, editor and cinematographer. Despite this project sounding like a dream that any studio would want to land, no one was willing to finance the movie, largely in part due to the millions of dollars that would be required on state-of-the-art CGI to make the main cast look younger for flashback scenes, taking the budget to superhero movie levels. When it looked like the project would be canned, Netflix swooped in to save the day, providing Scorsese with whatever he needed to get his vision onto the big screen. Or small screen, so to speak. This isn't charity work from Netflix though, and nor are they likely to care how much money, if any, the movie makes for them. It's not about money, it's about power. The Irishman is part of Netflix's power struggle with Hollywood, perhaps the most important single project of the entire saga, not least because it's directed by a veteran from the Hollywood New Wave and perhaps the greatest filmmaker alive. Netflix won't care about the money, it's proven by how much they've thrown at the film. But there are several clear reasons why they bought the rights to the movie. First off, it sends a clear message to filmmakers, those who have passion projects, those who are in need of making their magnum opus. It is telling movie directors, showing the world even, that we are the ones that made the movie that was in limbo for 10 years, the movie that reunited Scorsese with De Niro and Pesci after 20 years, the first collaboration between Scorsese and Pacino. It sends a clear message to filmmakers that if they want to make movies on their own terms, then head over to us. We'll take care of you. The Irishman is pretty much an advertisement for what Netflix is capable of giving auteur filmmakers. It also sends a message to audiences. As with the message to film directors, Netflix is also telling audiences that if you're sick and tired of superhero movies, remakes, reboots and sequels, that we are the guys that can provide prestige original drama. For all the complaints about Netflix, and believe me there are a lot, you cannot deny they are taking risks, They are making films that would otherwise not be made, at least in today's world. And it's quite ironic for people like Spielberg to stick their noses up at the streaming company when he himself complained that he was almost unable to secure funding for films like Lincoln through the traditional methods, and who had also predicted Hollywood's current snowballing would cause an implosion of the industry. Maybe Netflix is that implosion. All in all, The Irishman, if nothing else, is representative of the growing power of Netflix as a major player in the industry. They will go all out with this film in its Oscar campaign, and when it is close to release, it will become the poster boy of the streaming giants, showing just what they are capable of doing. Who knows where the future of cinema lies? Will theatres die out and streaming platforms take over? Are Netflix a fad that will run out of puff and burn their money out? Is Hollywood to blame for not taking risks and driving creative talent away? The future of cinema and filmmaking is intriguing. Thanks for watching.